All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to episode number 12 of the Whitey and Will Sports Show. It is Sunday, November 21st, 2021, and last week we were lucky enough to be joined by the varsity girls basketball coaches from St. Anthony, Effingham, and Teutopolis high schools. And so this week, in continuing with the theme of previewing local prep basketball, we are going to have the boys coaches from those same three schools join us to talk about what their upcoming seasons are looking like. So we're very lucky to have Coach Obie Farmer from Effingham High School. Obie, give him a little wave there in case anyone doesn't know what you look like. Chet Reeder from Teutopolis High School and Cody Rincker from St. Anthony High School. Thanks, guys, for taking a little time out of your evenings to be with us. I know the people who watch this will appreciate it, and hope you'll like the chance to get to talk about your teams a little bit. Before we get started talking about your clubs individually, one of the questions I asked the girls coaches that I'd like to get your thoughts on too was, we talked to them a little bit about how last year was so abnormal in terms of getting the season underway and kind of not even knowing at first what a season was going to look like, or if it was even going to happen. This year we get the traditional normal ramp up, and I just want to hear from you guys how nice it's been. Hopefully, how nice it's been to just go about your business like normal. Anyone who wants to jump in, go ahead and start sharing.
Well, I mean, it was like Christmas morning for me. Just getting back to being started and knowing that, knowing that it's going to be pretty much a normal year with, normal schedules and postseasons and tournaments. It was that first day of practice it almost felt like my very first day of ever coaching. Just that excitement, kind of nervous, almost didn't really know what to do because we jumped in last year when we finally got to get started. It was almost like it was middle of the year. So for me, it was all those emotions and all that stuff from my first year of coaching came rushing back. It kind of had that kind of feel to it.
Yeah, it was definitely exciting, and I couldn't believe how much stuff I almost forgot, little things to prepare for the season as far as some of the managerial type things and getting everything ready. So, but getting back into it and seeing the guys there and getting the traditional, conditioning and different things like that was really nice, and really has been, a welcoming this year as we get prepared for this season this week.
Yeah, having a preseason at all is, new for us. I started, this is year 4. The first year I took over, I took over mid-season, and the second year we went to the semifinals for football, and half my team was on the football field. So we got one practice, and then we went into the Thanksgiving tournament. And then last year they told us I don't remember what day it was, but we only had a couple practices before they let us go. So, this year we just missed the playoffs in football. So we got our full conditioning time. Got our 2 weeks of practice, and now we're moving into the tournament. So, this is all new, so I've got all kinds of extra time that I didn't know I had to put stuff in and practice stuff and go over things and get ready for teams. It's
got to be nice, I would think. I know that you had conference titles to think about last year, but the end game wasn't really there. And so that has to be another positive, I would think, to know that there's going to be a regional to play for. There's going to be those normal end of season goals to shoot for, something that you can use to keep your kids motivated and have them working toward. Is that fair? Is that accurate?
I think definitely. I think the kids, you could just tell in the way they approach practice, the way they approach the preseason stuff that you did, even the way they approached the summer stuff, just had a different feel to it than what last February and March did. So I think there's a lot of truth in that.
Yeah, your field's going to be different, because we've got that opportunity at the end of the year. But I feel like the atmosphere of a team's been different every year just because of the different kids you have in the program. They kind of change it with the way they carry themselves and, and how they play and the way you're going to approach the season. It just changes depending on the kids you have.
Yeah, it's been a night and day difference, with from last year to this year. Kids just, we tried to motivate them, tried to give them, a different carrot in front of the horse last year, every game, every week. But this year, it's different. They know they have things to play for that they've been wanting, that they've been working for basically their whole career, leading up to, especially seniors leading up to their senior year. They know they have something to play for this year.
Cody, one of the things you mentioned is, it's almost like you forgot how to manage practice, being off. I can only imagine, as you gear up for that first practice, traditionally, you're gearing up and, okay, here's when we're going to start incorporating these drills. And then we're going to start with a little bit of this that turns into a little bit of our defensive stuff. And this is going to be an offensive day. And then we're going to introduce, our basic man stuff and some, and you've kind of got a plan that 2 weeks fulfills. And last year you guys had 2 days, and that's, you were so eager to start playing when you were able to start playing. But yet I can only imagine what that was like to go, it's kind of like turn on the fire hose, boys, and take a drink.
Yeah, I mean, that's how last year felt. It was like, hey, we're going to hit the ground running and you got to go. This year you've had more time and time to think about, like you said, when you're going to implement stuff and the scope and sequence of how you're going to do those different things. So I tried to look back to last year's, and last year's was no good because, like you said, we jumped right in. So I had to look back 2 years, and even then, just like Obie said, the difference in your team makeup and some of these guys, if they didn't get a lot of time, is in the shortened season last year from these underclassmen, it's almost like they've kind of missed 2 years, and they're all of a sudden coming in. So even what I did 2 years ago with a more experienced team doesn't really fit. So yeah, so it's just kind of feeling them out again and figuring out what's going to work for these guys. And you have your plan, but your plan's always going to be adjusted based on the way your guys pick up the concepts and how well they do with it. So, and it's not about being ready for that first game. It's about being more ready than your opponent. So we'll see how that goes.
Mike, you got any other kind of all-encompassing questions you want to get into before we go team by team?
One other thing, I mean, when you're looking at this week, you've got 4 games, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, then obviously you get Thursday off, then Friday, Saturday. You get 1 day off in there while teams are playing. I can remember coaching in this tournament, and it was, the worst thing was this first game, something you thought you had a handle on, suddenly you don't do very well at, and you're thinking, man, now we got to play tomorrow, and I really don't have time to talk and teach about this. Boy, I thought we would be able to handle a little full court trap, just about what we talked about, and all of a sudden you get exposed with something, or, so in that short week, how do you guys go about making adjustments when you really don't have practice time to make a lot of adjustments?
Well, our practices, we do our skill stuff at the beginning of our defensive half of practice, and we do our offensive stuff at the beginning of our offensive half of our practice. And then we spend half of our defensive segments, game planning. So what we do is before we go to our game, before we get on a bus, regardless of where we're going, is we always have a walkthrough about an hour, just something to get the kids moving and sweating a little bit. And so instead of, being able to do some of that skill stuff before we get on the bus, sometimes it's a walk and talk and try to fix the things that you screwed up the time before, just to give you an opportunity, like you said, just to mend something that was really broken in the previous game.
Yeah, we do the same. when I coached football at Sullivan, we did that a lot before we got on the bus, and I've kind of taken that from Coach Temple's and incorporated that into basketball. That we walk through some things, maybe go half speed right before we get on a bus, and sometimes you don't even have a gym. You just do that like in the cafeteria or something. But that and you got to lean on your older guys that we do things in practice where kind of situation things, and I don't do a whole lot of coaching. I put time on the clock. This is how much you're down or up, and like the captains or the seniors, they have to get the team through it. And then we talk afterwards. Why did you do this? What did you see? And I think that kind of prepares them for this weeks like this where we don't have a whole lot of time to fix things, and they got to kind of fix it on the floor. So we try to put them in situations like that.
Yeah, I mean, I would have to reiterate, a lot of that, the walkthroughs are shortened little, time periods where you don't have a lot. Maybe just go watch some film, especially it being at our place. Tuesday we get like in 45 minutes on the court, and you're done because guys are coming into practice or play for that triple header there on Tuesday night. So it's get some shots up, try to work on your basics. But at this point in the year, it's still so much new. You're still really just trying to get good and find your identity and figure out what you're actually going to be good at. So I try not to worry too much if there is something that goes really, really wrong, and just continue to reiterate what you want to be and where you want to get to, because it's so early in the season. Even though you want to win, you want to be competitive, and you don't want those moments to happen. I guess my mentality is just to continue to focus on what we want to be good at some point, and hopefully that's good enough to be the adjustment for the next game.
Chet, you mentioned doing a lot of scenarios, putting time on the clock, maybe down 8 with 1:20 to go, where you don't do any coaching. And I did some of that, but I had some teams that weren't real good at that, and I had other teams that were great at it. And I like the fact, that you mentioned that, because I think you got to find out, because the game where you don't have the timeouts, or it's a big game in a big arena and the kids on the other end of the floor, I know I coached when Cody played against me. I know he's going to find this hard to believe, but sometimes my kids couldn't hear my voice on the floor. So, yeah, that's hard to believe. I understand.
That sounds pretty far-fetched.
Yeah, but,
I think
but so your kids know, hey, they don't get stuck fouling immediately in a situations. They don't have to wait for you to be the puppeteer and yelling at them to foul. They know those things, and that's good. And I like to hear that you guys are doing that. But do you find that some teams adapt to that better than others? Some groups?
Oh, absolutely. You also find out what groups that you have where you need to take a timeout when a team's going on a run, and vice versa. You got teams that, you figure out that they can get through that stuff without me taking a timeout. So that's another reason why we do it, is to figure out, what the group is like, how they respond to adversity. And you really never know until it's actually game and there's fans in the stands. And but you get an idea of, okay, with this group, I'm going to need to take, a timeout in these situations, and kind of walk them through in the timeout what we need to do.
Some of that, I feel like, mentioned that, so scenarios like that, that's what you find out in the summer too, when you don't have those timeouts. You get the one per half, and I don't know how your guys' summer went, but ours was somewhat normal, not as normal, and you don't find those things out like maybe in a traditional summer, figure those things out about your team. So
yeah, and I guess, Mike, we kind of talk about it like everybody knows, and probably most people who are seeking this out do understand, but all three of these guys are going to be coaching in the St. Anthony Thanksgiving tournament, which starts tomorrow. In fact, two of you will be playing tomorrow night. T-Town plays Rantoul, and St. Anthony plays Robinson. Effingham kicks off the next night against Breeze Central. I guess one other thing we could ask you, before we have you talk about your teams individually, is just kind of what you're thinking about the tournament this year, how the field looks, and how you're feeling about things. I know it's probably kind of hard to handicap or anything, but I don't know. How do we feel about it? Just generally speaking.
I know our side's pretty tough with us and Central and Robinson and St. Anthony. With us, our first game is Central, who didn't lose a game last year in their varsity season or their JV season, and they got 3 guys coming back that started for them. So I mean, that's gonna be a pretty tough test. Robinson got a couple transfers in, twin brothers, and their dad's a coach at the college over at Lincoln Trail, I think. And I guess those kids are some pretty good ballers. And then we go Friday night and play St. Anthony. And that, regardless of who you got or who you don't have, it's always a battle. So my staff and I, and talking with our players, it's going to be a pretty good test for us to see where we're at the beginning of the season. Nothing's gonna come easy. Everything's going to be a tough game, and they're going to have to work for everything they try to get. Like I said, it's a tough tournament. Yeah, I'm really excited to see, how our kids do.
We enjoy the tournament. It's right next door for us. We're playing different teams this year that aren't on our schedule. With we opened with Grand Tool, and they were down last year, and but they've got some kids coming back that that are long and athletic. We're expecting them to probably zone us and maybe half court trap us. But and then Highland's much improved. They've got 3 kids that have been starting for 3 years now. They started as freshmen. That'll be a very, very tough task. And then Matt Toon, Coach Greer always has his kids playing well. And but we're still trying to figure out who we are. We got 1 kid returning we got 3 kids returning with experience, 1 starter. So we really don't know how good we are yet, but we'll find out on Monday. That's what we like about this St. Anthony tournament is it's always going to be challenging. You will be challenged. You'll be put in spots that that you maybe wouldn't in other tournaments. So we always look forward to the challenge of playing in this tournament.
Yeah, I mean, I just reiterate much of what these guys already said. We're excited about the teams that we have coming in, both sides of the pools there. I know Kevin worked extremely hard to find teams and competitive teams to make it, in our opinion, I guess one of the best turkey tournaments in the area, if not the best. And we're just excited for the week to get fans back in the stands and to have a fun week of basketball. Like Coach Reeder said, they're figuring out who you are, right away. There's no easy task, all week long. And so that's another thing I love about the tournament is it gives you a great chance to see where your weaknesses are and then, learn from this for the rest of the season.
All right, Mike, who are we going to start with? Who are we going to put on the spot first here?
Well, Cody's probably the senior coach with
He is.
I mean, we can start seniority, I guess,
Okay. We can do that. So Cody, you guys, all 3 of these teams that we're talking about, in the abbreviated season last year had pretty good years. And I don't know, I think you all probably have some pretty big shoes to fill coming into this season. So why don't you tell me a little bit about, what you're anticipating for this year, what you're excited about with your team, just kind of what's on your mind as you get ready to start playing games again.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of fall in the boat that Chet talks about there. We have 4 guys that were on the varsity team last year returning. Only one of them was a starter. The other 3, saw the end of the game type minutes. Maybe in a different lengthened season with more practice time and more games, they would have saw more action on the court. But it was just kind of the nature when you had 9 seniors in a short year like that, and some of them were, very talented in their own right. So, but overall, I think we're really excited. We got a good group of juniors. We had a good JV year last year, and then some sophomores have really improved. I had 1 kid move in from Charleston here that's got a lot of talent, a lot of ability. But I think overall, we're excited to see how they're going to be out there on the court. To see if they're able to manage the speed of the game. It's always the question mark for any team coming in there with a lot of inexperience is how does the speed of the varsity game how do they adapt to it? How quickly do they pick it up? Can they play without fouling? All those types of things. Can they make decisions just a little bit quicker? So that's kind of what's been on my mind. I think we're a team that's got some good lengths and good athleticism. Probably one of the more talented, at least in practice, they've shown maybe a little more talented outside shooting teams I've had, but maybe without some of the height that we've had over the past few years. So, I mean, overall, I think we got a chance to be pretty solid, and just time will tell with that inexperience on how quickly they get up to speed.
Having to play so many games in that first week, you tend to need to maybe go a little deeper on your roster during those early games than you might as the season wears on. In terms of number of contributors, do you feel like you've got a pretty good pool of guys who can fit in for you?
I do. I feel like, at the moment we could go 10 deep. We only got 12 guys on the roster at the moment. And my philosophy is always, I can always give those jerseys out as the year goes on. So I don't like to give too many out at the beginning of the year. But, we got, like I said, with the 3 seniors of Croy and Stewart and Fearday, they've done a good job of working hard and kind of leading the way in practice and setting the tone. Sahi and Willenberg and Levitt have done a good job as juniors there, really picking up the slack as far as just the mentality of the way practices are ran and how we want to do things. But yeah, I don't know. I got 10 on my mind that we could play, but I really, really like an 8-man rotation that just seems to fit well and get guys in rhythm and all that kind of stuff. So I've done it both ways early in the year. I've played barely anybody and just played my top 5 or 6, and I've played all the way down to 10 or 11. So some of that just kind of depends on how the first game goes and what I'm seeing and where I think guys can fit in. So I try to have a plan, but I don't want to marry that plan too soon here.
Yeah, don't want to get backed into a corner. Yeah, I get it.
Exactly.
Cody, you named 2 of those juniors. I'm a little concerned because I had both their fathers as freshmen. You may not want to, set your sights real high with those 2. No. And it's fun to see and good because, I've known those kids for a while, knowing their families, and I'm really interested to come watch see how they play. I think it'll be fun.
Yeah, they put a lot of work in. Say he's lived in the gym. I was talking to somebody the other day, and that's what they said. They want to find Griffin, just go to the gym. That's where you're going to find him. The kids put up a ton of shots, been in the weight room, so I'm excited to see, and hopefully that translates into the games here.
Yeah, he's about 2 foot taller than his dad was in high school, so he's got that going for him.
That doesn't hurt.
And if a long drive contest breaks out, you just give Jonathan a stick, and I think you're okay there. So it'll be good. It'll be good to see that group. And like I said, I know you've lost a lot of kids, so you're kind of in that restarting mode, like everyone is. Like all 3 of you guys are, really, to be honest.
Yeah. Restarting, retooling, whatever you want to call it. There, every year's a new year. Even if you lose one guy, you got to find new positions and new roles. So yeah, we're still figuring that out like everybody else is. Time will tell. Like I said, I feel pretty confident that they seem ready for this week, and nothing else. Once the fans get in there, that's going to help some of that enthusiasm, that energy as well.
What about the National Trail Conference? Let's talk about that for a minute. How we feeling about how we fit into that one?
It's one of those things. There's a lot of quality teams out there. Altamont, the first one that comes to mind. They got a lot of good group of juniors. John always has them ready to play, has them competing hard. Defensively, they're always going to be a battle. Neoga with Snow. This is Snow's 3rd or 4th year possibly up there that he's finally got a chance to got guys through his program. I know he's got a more experienced group this year that I know he's excited about. And they gave us a challenge there this summer. Late in the summer, the season there. But I think overall, there's a lot of good coaches. We know each other very well. I think that if we come and compete and play to our capabilities, we got as good a shot as anybody to recapture the title. But you got to show up. And like I said, with inexperience, we got to see how quickly we respond and get up to speed with the varsity level.
Got anything else, Mike?
Nope, I'm good.
All right. Why don't we go with Chet next? Coach Reeder, what are you feeling about your team? What are you looking forward to as far as coaching your group this year?
Well, this is my 4th year. We got 7 seniors that have been with us for 4 years. So it's been practices, and this is no knock on any group prior, but this may have been our best 2 weeks of practice I've ever had. And I think a lot of that is 7 seniors who have been with me for 4 years. They know what to expect. They're a very energetic and vocal group. They're not afraid to, hold each other accountable. So there's not a lot of effort things that I have to address in practice. The guys do that, and it's made it fun. It's competitive. How good we're going to be, I don't know. Like I said, it's, Max is our only returning starter. Brendan Nieberge and Caleb Seamer came off the bench last year. So we'll be needing a lot of production from those 3, with other guys with not so much experience. So I guess I don't know how good we're going to be. I think we'll be difficult to play against. I think we've got, some length at the guard position, quickness that maybe we haven't had in the past, a little bit more athleticism. So I think we could be very difficult to play against. A lot of that will depend on if we can play without fouling, which hasn't been very successful in practice this week. But I think they'll be a really fun group to watch. I think we may struggle to score at times. But very, very competitive group. I think we've got 8 or 9 guys that can play. At least at the beginning of the year, we'll have to figure out what our rotations will be. I'm kind of like Cody. I like an 8-man rotation. So guys are going to get a chance this week to see if they can help us. That's kind of what I think we're going to be like.
You talk about guys going from role players to starters. Can you typically gauge in those first 2 weeks of practice how well they're going to step into those shoes, or is there really any substitute for getting in a game and competing against other schools as far as trying to figure out how well they're going to take to taking that next step up as far as what their role is?
Well, you kind of find that out in the summer. Luckily we had, almost a normal summer. So, guys, you figure that out going against other teams, better players. In practice, it depends on how competitive your practices are and how competitive the next 5 are going against your top 5. If you can figure out if a guy can make plays in games. Like I said, I think I think our guys are pretty competitive. I think 3 through 9 or 10 are pretty even. So we've been able to split them up evenly and play, do competitive drills without our top 5 versus our bottom, our top 8 versus our bottom 8. We're able to mix them in. So that's helped. So, like I said, you figure it out in the summer, but you also figure it out if you have a group a good group to practice against every day. And I feel like we have that this year, which it is a huge benefit in my opinion.
And we talked to Lori about it when we talked to her last week. As far as non-conference, a schedule without having to stick to a conference list of opponents, it gives you a chance to really challenge yourself. And we've found that T-Town does that. Girls or boys, you really get out there and play some people. How does your schedule look as far as testing yourselves for the long haul?
Pretty good. We've added a few new teams. We play at Centralia this year in January. We're really looking forward to going down there and playing against Coach Bennett's group and our kids getting to see that environment and that gymnasium. We added Tolono Unity, which they're still kind of down, but they got kids coming. I think in the next couple of years, it could be a really good battle for a really good addition to our schedule. You know, and we play Bloomington Central Catholic again. You know, the area schools are always competitive and tough to play against. You know, there's some downfalls to not being in a conference, but being able to, the one thing I really like is being basically every 2 years being able to pick and choose your schedule and who you play, and you know, looking at, you know, teams within an hour that are going to be really good, and maybe a potential postseason matchup that you could maybe get on your schedule. So I like the freedom of our schedule without being in a conference.
Now, Chet, you guys still have St. Joe on the schedule?
Yeah, play St. Joe still. Yeah,
You'll get to see Mr. Pence up front. You know, I talked to their former coach, Brian Brooks, and Brian and I are good friends, and he says this kid is the real deal.
Yeah, he's you know, we played him last year up at their place, and he's pretty special. He can score in ways that, you know, you don't really see out of 2A basketball players down here, at least. So he's a pretty special talent.
And he's a junior, correct?
Yep.
All right. Why don't we?
I do have another question for Chet. Now, Chet,
Okay, go for
you've had the unique situation of 2 days this weekend with no practice, correct?
Yeah. It's basically against the law to practice on.
Well, I know that one. My years there helping on the bench, I was like, you know, and I always heard how Thursday night was the worst practice of the year. In my first year or two there, and it was terrible. No one wanted to be there. All they were worried about was getting everything packed up in the car and heading to deer camp for the weekend.
Yeah,
but that changed. It really did. It changed, and we started having real good practices. And but yeah, that ought to be. It's interesting that you've got good momentum, and you said you've had great practices over this 2 weeks, and then all of a sudden it stops for 2 days, and you're probably thinking this is the worst time to be out of the gym for 2 days.
Yeah, you know, I really struggled with it my first year. Not, you know, the end of your 2 weeks of practice, all of a sudden you can't practice. You know, I struggle with that. But you know, we practiced today. I gave them Friday and Saturday off. I did what Coach Crawford used to do. You know, and it was almost like they were refreshed coming in today. You know, they got, I'm sure their legs were heavy. You know, we did some 2-a-days within those first 13 days. So they were pretty tired. And I'm sure, I know they probably didn't get the best sleep at deer camp this weekend, but they seemed a little refreshed. So yeah, I was concerned about that, especially playing on Monday. But you know, it is what it is. That's stuff that, you know, there's sometimes things that are more important than basketball, and getting out and doing that stuff with their family, I think is the older I've gotten, the more I realize that, you know, that stuff's important too.
Well, and like I said, you may get a silver lining out of it. Like you said, they've refreshed a little bit. You know it's happening. You snuck in a couple extra 2-a-days in there just
right
to get your everything, you know, your time you needed. So that's good, but it is a unique situation. And I remember telling somebody once about that. And they're like, "No way!" And I go, "Oh yeah, no, it's 2 days, nobody's there." So you know, it works out pretty well.
I mean, at this point, like you're around here, you live here, you just kind of know that's how it goes, right? Like that's how it's always been. So I guess you could get bent out of shape about it, but it ain't gonna change anything. So
right. Yeah, I could complain about it, but nobody's gonna listen to me. So.
Yeah, that's one battle you don't want to pick.
Yeah. And of the 20 guys, only one of them killed the deer. So there was a kind of a weekend for them.
Oh yeah, they're all in contest, and you know, you're probably the only school that's got deer hunting contest signs all over the halls. And and I used to text these kids at practice and say, "Okay, you bringing jerk?" "No, we didn't get anything." I'm like, "What do you mean?" So yeah, it's unfortunate only one got a deer. So
All right, let's give Obie a chance. We made him wait till last, but Obie, you guys had a really nice year last year, a lot of success. But tell me about what's going on for you this season.
Yeah, things are going well. A lot of kids stepping into new roles. With the guys we lost from last year, it's got to happen. You lose Parker at 26 points a game, and Nate with 21 points a game, and Jacob Stoneburner, who's a defensive lineman at McKendree. He held things down in the middle. So everybody's kind of got big shoes to fill in terms of scoring and defense and really everything that we're about. We got 3 guys coming back that had some time last year. Garrett Wolf, started for us, and then Dalton Fox and Braden Powell split that last spot. Braden got hurt partway through the year, tore meniscus, and so he was out for a few weeks, and then so Dalton filled that role while he was out for that 5th starter, and did a great job, playing like an undersized post player for us. And Dalton and Braden this year have done great things. Practice, being great leaders, making sure everybody's doing things the right way. But one of the problems we have is, last year we only went about 6 or 7 deep, and we just ran as fast as we could to get as many shots up as we could. And then, some of those other guys didn't get very many varsity minutes. But like the other guys had said, we had a summer, and a lot of those guys got an opportunity to show us some stuff, and we got really high hopes for a bunch of guys to give us some good minutes. It's going to be a lot different than what I've ever done in the past. Usually it's 6 or 7 guys at the very most get the bulk of the minutes, but in all reality, we probably have 10 guys that could give us quality minutes in a varsity game. So, and then it might get reduced to see how they respond when you actually play a varsity opponent. There's no substitute for those varsity experience, those varsity minutes. So to say that they're doing well in practice is one thing, but to see how they respond when you're playing the teams that we play in our conference and even to start in this tournament, will open my eyes a little bit to who can fill those extra minutes and what guys might have to take a step back a little bit and wait for different opportunities.
When you talk about maybe having to change your approach a little bit as far as how many guys you want to go with, maybe going with a deeper rotation, like, is that a very tough pill to swallow, or is that easy for you to just say, well, we're just going to have to do things a little different than we're used to? Like, I mean, is it just like, man, I got to do this, or are you looking forward to possibly, having a slightly different approach?
It's not something that I feel like I have to do. It's something I get to do. Last year we had these guys that were, head and shoulders above anything that we had, because they scored at such a high capacity and they rebounded so well. So we just didn't sub them out. So we only had to sub for those other 2 guys, and those other 3 just played the entire game.
Yeah.
But this year I feel like we've got 9 or 10 guys that are all pretty even. So we're going to be able to give people breaks, keep legs fresh, and hopefully our conditioning is a little bit better than last year, because those guys don't have to play a full game.
Tell me about the Apollo a little bit. How are we feeling about how the conference is looking this year?
The Apollo is always tough when you have Lincoln with Coach Alexander up there. I ran into him a couple times since the end of last season. He keeps telling me they're going to be way down, but way down for Neil means he's going to win 28 games instead of 30. He can go into a game with a bunch of 5th graders and keep it competitive. Like he just finds ways to win with that 1-2-2 zone and that 5-out motion that makes it tough on anybody. But really, there's no down teams at all this year. Muhammad's got nearly everybody back. I think they've got 4 starters back, and all their contributors besides 1 kid back. They're big and long and strong, a lot like they were on the football field this year. So they're going to be tough as well.
Yeah. You make that comparison to their football team, that scares me a little bit, because that was
they're good.
Good
good.
group of athletes, I guess. Just whatever sport we're talking about. Mike, what do you got?
The thing about Lincoln, Obie mentioned, I ran into Coach Alexander a little bit in the summer years ago, and I'd see them play at stuff and was always impressed. But watching them last year and actually watching them online when they'd play you guys, because I really wanted to watch those two games, they're very efficient on both ends of the floor. They're just, they don't, they're not slow. They're not methodical. They don't want to play, 38-36 game, but they also, their kids, value possessions. And last year, I thought there was times they kind of challenged him. I don't want to mean challenge Neil, but at times they got a little loose. And but then he would kind of reel them all back in. But I think that's one of the things that I really enjoyed watching them is how efficient they play, and on both ends of the floor they really play. I mean, everything's got a purpose. Everything fits in what they're trying to do.
Yeah, they're a machine for sure. Well-oiled machine.
So, and I'll give the other guys a chance to talk up their staffs a little bit too, but as far as coaching staff, you got a little bit of change, right? Because Colton Boers changed schools on you, and he was your JV coach last year. So I think our girls coaches last week appreciated the chance to talk up their coaching staff. So I'd like to give you guys the same chance, and we can start with you, Obie, and I'll give the other two guys a chance. But who's helping you out this year?
Sure. So Colton left. He went over to Dietrich. He got his teaching degree. And you got to follow the job, so they hired him on over there, and he's coaching baseball. Coach Hayden got a promotion at work, and so he had to step away from the team because he's out of town for a week at a time, so he couldn't help out. One of our freshman coaches resigned so they could focus more on cross country and track and do that kind of stuff. So we had one back from last year, and it's Jordan Andrick. So he was one of our freshman coaches. And so I brought him up over the summer to help me out so we can get things done. And then we hired a couple guys that have been around me when I've been coaching. One of them's Alex Bonoff. I was a Dietrich player back when I was coaching in my few years I was coaching there. So he's helping us out. And just in the time he's been around those freshmen, the point guards have gotten better. Ball handling's been better. Shot form. All those things that he did really well, we've seen be elevated in that group of kids. And then our other freshman coach is Wyatt Jones. He graduated just a couple of years ago with us. Big 6'7" kid, had nice touch. So he's helping us out, coaching up our post players down there at that level. And then Sam Thompson was another kid in that grade, 20 years old, so a young guy that's helping out. And it's amazing. So a lot of times new coaches or young coaches are a little bit more reserved. Don't have a whole lot to say, don't want to step on toes. But I mean, we're going through drills and he's jumping in, grabbing kids, coaching them up, and he's reiterating the same stuff that we have talked about in coaching meetings. It was nice because the first thing he asked me when he came in was, hey, how do you want us to do this? How do you want us to do that? So when he sees things go incorrectly in practice, he's grabbing kids right away and jumping right in there. So where we lost Coach Boer and Coach Hayden, who had been with me for a few years, we've gotten quality replacements for those spots.
Give you other guys a chance to jump in with this stuff too. Talk about your help a little bit.
I had a little bit of movement there on my staff. Coach Meddy is back though. He's been with me since the beginning here. So this is our 9th year together there. He'll be my JV coach. We had Coach Sakari and Coach Fearday. Bryce finished up and took a job somewhere else. So he left us there, and Coach Sakari just needed to re-retire. He needed to spend more time and travel and do some things there. Yeah. But we great additions to our staff. They meant a lot to us and did, for the 4 years they were there, were a big help. So, but we replaced them here. We hired a Coach Sean Drone. He's from Altamont. So excited to have him on the staff. I guess we call him a John Nieberge product, maybe a little bit. He was with John for his first couple of years at Altamont. So understands the defensive side of the ball and has been a nice addition there for us. First year coach, first year teacher. So he's kind of learning the ropes, but we're excited to have him around and see how he develops as a coach for us. And then our other assistant, Ben Gertz, who I played with there, Stu Straws, and done a little coaching. Decided to hang up the stripes for a little bit and get back into the coaching gig. So we're excited to have him around with that experience at that level. He's been a great addition as well here.
Our staff we got everybody back, and with one addition, Craig Toller is our JV coach. This is his second year at T-Town, but he coached with me for 3 or 4 years at Sullivan. So we have a great relationship. He understands what I want, what I expect out of the guys. So there's a lot of times where in practice he'll run stuff because he knows what needs to get done. Dave Prummer's our fresh soft coach again. This is his 4th year. Does a great job with the younger guys. And one thing I really enjoy about Dave is, I'm new to this area, new to the community, and Dave has that kind of personal touch with every kid. He knows their background, knows how to motivate them in different ways. If I'm getting on a kid, he knows who he needs to go put his arm around and coach him up and be positive with him. So Dave's really good at that. And getting all the fundamental stuff in with our freshmen. He doesn't try to implement too much with them. He does he just makes sure that they have the basic stuff coming in, that they're really good at it. And he's really good at that. Chris Ungren is volunteering and helping again. This is his 3rd year. He's also coaching over at Sigel as well. And then Luke Ungren is a new addition, another volunteer, helping us out mainly at the freshman level, but he comes to as many varsity practices as he can, which is nice. Being a former player of mine, playing the point guard position. He was a coach on the floor for us, so he has transitioned very well. It's funny when he starts getting on some guys that he got in trouble for doing the same thing. And I'll go over to him and say, remember when you would give me that, weird look, like, why are you getting on me for this? And now you're doing the same thing. And he just kind of smiles and laughs. And, but it's good to see, young guys getting into coaching and doing well at it. And we need more and more young guys to keep getting into the profession, because we're losing a lot of coaches and not gaining a whole lot.
Yeah, and Chet, you're exactly right on that. We're losing coaches. I'll tell you the other thing we're losing, and we've found out is, I knew it was a problem. I didn't know how bad it had become with officials, but just with the Christmas tournament coming up and us getting, the guys that do the official assignment, I guess, for lack of a better term for us. The struggles we're having there, and it's become an issue. It really has. And when you see, when I was at T-Town, Brett Meddy played before. I remember reaching out to Brett saying, "Man, you need to start doing some officiating," and he does. I think he's done a few JV games even. But it's just guys like that and getting it started, because you're going to see within 2 years, you will see games not being played because of an inability to hire officials. At the varsity level in this part of the state of Illinois, you will hear of games not being able to be played. I would think within 2 years, I really do. It's not 2, 3. It's become scary. And, that's another big part of it.
So does that mean that if there's a crucial call that you guys don't agree with, at some point in a big game this year, you're gonna take it a little easy because you don't want these guys to hang it up?
I get on my soapbox for a second. I've watched all 3 of these guys coach. They're not the problem with the official shortage that has been created. Yeah, are they all three passionate? Do they get excited? Sure. You know, people can't just sit there and be quiet like I was, Whitey. I mean, you know, I barely spoke when we played Stu Straws back in the day. I was a pretty quiet guy, but the problem is at a fresh soft game or the junior high game, the parents who know absolutely nothing about the game of basketball berating a 21-year-old official trying to break in and get the job done. Mm-hmm. That's just, it's inexcusable. When I go to games, I hate sitting near fans because I hate to hear it. Okay. I hate to hear it. And I see this and it drives me nuts. I mean, you know, every kid that's playing in a sixth grade basketball game at the Sigel tournament at the end of the year is not going to be a Big Ten player. People need to quit acting like, you know, yeah. Oh my God, this official, or hearing them yell at coaches. And that's part of the thing, you know, Chet mentioned you're having, you know, the coaching pool is getting thinner and shallower. And it's, again, it's the same reason. Mm-hmm. I know people that said, I'm done with it. I'm tired of dealing with it. You know, people I've coached with, guys just said it just, they lost the fun of coaching because of having to deal with so much stuff outside of off the floor that people thought they needed to throw their 2 cents worth. You know, yeah, Chet doesn't know what he's doing here. I'm going to go into practice and I'm going to complain that why this kid's not playing. It's happening more and more and more, and it's bad. It really is.
Well, and I could just say that, you know, I see quite a few games throughout the year, and I'll keep this short, but like, if you go into it not really having a predetermined outcome that you want to see, and you're just watching these games from a pretty 50-50 standpoint, like most of the things that people think are terrible really aren't. You know, most of the things that people think are objectionable, if you're not seeing it with the rose-colored glasses on, then you know, whether it's officiating or, you know, decisions made by the bench, you know, most of the time it's not objectionable at all. It's just people have a hard time separating what they want from how it really is. So yeah.
Seeing fans getting kicked out of basketball games, I don't think I'd seen that in my lifetime, and I've seen it in the last couple, and it's like, what? Why are you, you know? And my favorite, and an official will blow a call. They're human, and they get all over them screaming bloody murder to the point they're warned, and then a similar bad call made in their favor, and I just want to go up to that parent and say, wait, you're not bitching? They just blew that travel. Your son scored. He took 4 steps. Why aren't you screaming bloody murder? And I don't know. That's my soapbox. Cody, quit laughing at me.
Well, we've had these guys on for about an hour. I don't want to keep them too much longer, but Mike, is there anything that I haven't?
Yeah, I do. I do. I've been thinking about having these guys on, and I have to say something to Mr. Rincker in this, and it's painful. It really is painful to say this, but Cody, I would say, was the smartest player on the floor I ever coached against. And I was not sad when he graduated. Okay.
I appreciate that, Mike. I appreciate that.
They were okay. Because you were what? You were 2 years. You were my first year and second, or just first year? Just first year, I believe.
I was 06. So whatever. If you're 05.
So you were with like Matt Custer and Andy McLeod.
But 05, I didn't play in your game because I was still nursing back from my broken leg from the summer.
But 06, to be honest, I didn't feel like you had any business beating us twice. But that's, you know, that's sometimes a coach gets a little high on this, what he thinks. And you beat us. You beat us. I mean, you had good guys on your team, but you just did things that would just drive me nuts during the game.
I
Mike,
appreciate that,
Mike
Mike.
really wants to get
That's
on
a
our
compliment.
pass gate list is what's going on here.
Yeah,
Wants to get on
it
our
is.
pass gate.
I think, yeah.
That's what it is. You're the greatest player ever as long as I get in for free.
Put that pass list and make sure the hospitality room is.
Yeah,
It's
full.
good. Yeah.
Now,
we got it.
we see it.
I got to give Lucas O'Rear maybe the best I coached against, so I got to see him a couple times. No.
Well, I appreciate
I
that,
said
Mike.
smartest, just smartest.
Yeah.
Well,
I had some good teachers along the way, so that definitely helped. So
You did. And again, I wish you guys the best of luck. I mean, we'll see you a lot at Christmas. I mean, knock on wood. We're anticipating a really good Christmas tournament. I just saw video of a Lincoln Way East kid jumping over their principal and dunking at Meet the Griffins night to win the slam dunk contest at Meet the Griffins night. So I'm really excited about the tournament because it's always a very good tournament. We have some good basketball, and you guys are a big part of that. So, I hope we have a good season. I hope we have a good postseason. I hope I get to do a couple of radio games so I don't have to get on a pass list, Cody, so I can get into radio.
I told you, Mike, just put that Premier shirt on and show up.
But
That's how I would handle. I don't know. I'd probably just pay to get in, but that's just
yeah, I know you. But this is the time of year in this area. There's a buzz. I mean, people enjoy basketball, enjoy good basketball. I've had maybe one of the very few people that have sat on the bench of all three of your schools in one way, shape, or form. And I've seen the really good teams and the full houses, the electricity, and it's special. And there's Chet, when you and Cody face each other this year, it's that hair stands up on the back of your neck when you come out of the locker room that last time pre-game, and the same when it's T-Town and Effingham, and that's Effingham St. Anthony Friday night. I think I coached against Ron Reed the first time we met in Thanksgiving at that. And it's just, it's special. You have a special seat, and people that coach realize that. I mean, coaching is an illness. You can't get it out of your system. But it's so fun and so good. And, I envy those seats until the game starts. And then I know all the other fun that comes with it. And, then you're on your own.
This is a special area. I've played and coached in a lot of different areas, and this area is second to none. I tell our guys all the time, don't take this stuff for granted, and really just Effingham County and the Effingham area for basketball is second to none. With the support and the crowds and the knowledge, the radio people, the media like you guys that doing stuff like this. It's second to none. And I hope people don't take that for granted. They know what they got here.
Yeah, I would reiterate that. Yeah, growing up there in NTC and all these games, didn't realize how special it was till you went to a junior college game and played there for 2 years. That's what last year felt like. Every game was a JUCO game. There was 30 people in the stands. So, to have the atmosphere back that kind of grew up playing in is like Chet said, can't take it for granted. It is special.
All right. Well, I appreciate all you guys taking the time out of your Sunday evening, in some cases the night before you play your first game of the year, to sit down and talk with us a little bit. All three of you guys have had tremendous success at your schools since you've taken over, and no reason to believe that's not going to continue to be the case this year. So it'll be fun to watch all three of you in action this year, and the rest of the area. Like you said, it's a great place to watch basketball, and we're going to get to see a lot of it over the next few months. So again, thanks to Obie Farmer from Effingham, Chet Reeder from Teutopolis, and Cody Rincker from St. Anthony for sitting down and giving us an hour of their time. Good luck to you guys on the upcoming season. Mike, you and I next week, maybe we can talk a little bit about we'll have some games to talk about. I've been keeping track of some of the local girls games, and there'll be some boys games to talk about as well. So we can spend a little time breaking that all down. But
Yeah,
Again,
I'll get to see, I know I'll get to see 3 nights. I'll be in Nashville, Tennessee Friday for Thanksgiving with my son. I don't know if I may be back in time Saturday to see some basketball. I don't know yet, but I really look forward to it. Like I said, it's special. And the one thing, if it's, Effingham playing Muhammad, you're shocked at how many people from St. Anthony fans, the Teutopolis fans, at some point listen to that game on the radio, if it's on the radio, So they're major supporters of their own schools, but they know what's going on around with all the other schools. And that's what, like I said, Chet, I think that's really helps make this a special area. It's just not hey, we're on this bandwagon, but we're paying attention to everybody else.
Yeah, and most of those games will be on the radio as far as the St. Anthony Thanksgiving tournament. We've got, I think we're airing almost every single one of them, since they'll mostly involve, either Effingham, T-Town, or St. Anthony. I know I got a couple of games tomorrow night. I'll be there Tuesday to do the Effingham and T-Town games. Really looking forward to that. Really looking forward to the season, and we're going to let everybody go. But again, thanks to everyone who's tuning into this and checking it out. Make sure you subscribe to the channel on YouTube. We're getting closer to that.
We're over 50, Whitey. We're over 50.
Yeah, it's still modest beginnings, but having some local celebrities like this join us can only help the cause. So they're doing us a favor. And if you're seeing this, make sure you share it around. Let your friends know. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and hopefully you'll be back for next week. This has been our 12th show. Thanks everybody for joining us. Thanks everybody for watching. Good evening.